Coach, noticeable difference in Daba and his running style this week. Thoughts on his performance, and really looked like a guy that was running freely, confidently, and obviously very well with the numbers he put up for you.
No, great observation, Pete. And I think it all stemmed from the kid just comes to work every day. He just continues to work. He did some good things against ECU, but recognized he just needs to keep working. He's a young player. It's a sophomore, so he's just learning still. And so I think most of it stemmed from his hard work. He just kept coming to work every day, and fortunately for him or for us, it paid off.
Regardless of what formation you run it from, did that also continue to show why getting production from that position is so important to making this offense click?
Yeah, I mean, it always starts with our fullback. I mean, you everything starts there. Like you said, to get going, you got to get your fullback going, and obviously too, when the fullback gets going, that also means your line's playing well. And so, our offensive line did some good things, and Daba and Logan, they ran hard inside.
Thank you.
Bill Wagner.
Bill Wagner from the Baltimore Sun and Capital Gazette newspapers. Coach, you had considerable success with what Philip Montgomery referred to as the tackle overplay, but that you were getting a little seal block and a nice little crease on the left side there. What was making that play work so successfully? I think Daba scored all 3 touchdowns off of that play.
They executed. I mean, good blocking. Daba did a good job of finding the hole back there, but I just thought they did a good job of blocking the line, did a good job of blocking Wags, and like Pete said earlier, Daba ran well. And, sometimes he ran through some tacklers too. Not everything was blocked perfectly, and he ran through it. And that's football. Guys got to make plays, whether you make somebody miss or you make a big catch. And that's what ended up happening. Guys, for the most part, blocked pretty well back, in that formation. Aka blocked really well over there, and Daba ran hard.
I was going to ask you about 96. He executed some noticeably key blocks on linebackers, kind of cracking down. You must be pleased with his development. I hadn't really noticed him before now, but he certainly was a factor on Saturday.
Well, it's a big deal for us. Like in our heavy set, what Coach Montgomery is talking about, normally we have a wide receiver back there, and people normally just kick the front to the unbalanced side. They just, we call knock the front. They knock the front that way and push everybody to the strong side, but we have a wide receiver back there. And so with the implementation of a tight end and, coming with Coach Peterson and some of his ideas, we're able to run both ways. And so it forces you to be a little bit more balanced, so to speak. You can't knock the front as much. And so that's been a big help for us this year. And just having a tight end back there just keeps people honest.
Joseph Hoyt, Dallas Morning News.
Hey, Ken. Joseph Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. 2 questions for you. First, Rashee Rice might be the most targeted receiver in college football. He certainly has a lot of yards. What have you seen from him, and what kind of challenges he put on you guys?
Well, he catches everything, you know what I mean? And you see some of the catches. He's catching in tight spots, a lot of 50-50 balls. He comes down with those. And to me, those are always the mark of the great receivers, those guys that can come down with the 50-50 balls. Obviously, he's super athletic, but those are things that have been impressed with him. It seems like it looks like he's covered, or it's a good coverage. All of a sudden, they throw him the ball and he catches it. Those are the ones that keep you up at night, just the guys that you think are covered and still come down with the ball.
And then defensively for SMU, the buzzword this week has been finish. They believe that they've got a good defense, but some details and little things have let them be gashed on big plays, and they haven't been able to finish. I guess with your offense, how much of a mentality is it to actually wear down an opponent and kind of take advantage of those plays when a defense might not be at their best?
Well, it's a big part of, we're different than most people. People try to go up tempo, and our tempo is we just kind of slow, methodically, just keep doing our things, same thing over and over. And so hopefully we do wear down people. We try to possess the football and keep you on the field a little bit longer, especially with their offense. We got to try to keep them on the sidelines. And so all of that ties into what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph.
Scott Wyckoff.
Scott Wyckoff with WBAL Radio in Baltimore. Coach, coming off a win like this that you've had this season, how important is it to put together back-to-back performances, and how much of a challenge is that against SMU?
Well, really, I mean, it's just like, Scott, some of my discussions when we lost. That game's over with. I mean, when you lose, you got to put that behind you. When you win, you have to put that behind you. So to me, it's not a matter of, stringing them back to back. It's a matter of this is a new week, and we got to come to work with the same mentality. We have a short week. We're on the road. They played on Wednesday, so they have, obviously more time to prepare for us. And so there's a lot of things. Our focus is this week, but it'd be nice to string back-to-back wins together, but that I don't even mention that. It's like I said, every week, it's always week to week. It's always practice to practice, rep to rep, drill to drill. It's always a one and oh mindset, for us, and that's the only way you survive. If you start thinking about the past, whether you win or lose, or I told guys, if you start listening to people patting you on the back, we're in trouble. Just it's over with. That was great. Got to celebrate Saturday. We got to move on to the next game.
I know each season you have the Army-Navy game that's on a stage, but this game on a Friday night, really on a national stage, how important is that to the program to have games like this where the entire nation can watch you?
It's very important, Scott. Our recruits, it's been a big reason why, we've done a good job of recruiting. Just our kids get to see us on national television. We play that up all the time. So our conference having this Friday night game or Thursday night game has been good to us. And I think Scott had mentioned that, for the most part, Friday nights have been good to us, but it's definitely big for us in recruiting, to get exposure for our players, for our program. And it's definitely a plus for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Bill Bergman.
Coach, after rewatching tape from Saturday, what really stuck out to you that impressed you from the team?
It was probably the most complete. I was just trying to think, probably the most complete win that we've had in a long, long time. I was just trying. I mean, we had a fake punt. We had a punt return that almost went to the house. We made all of our kicks. We almost had a kickoff return that broke. We had a trick play that, a couple trick plays that worked. We had 4 takeaways. We had some big plays. I can't remember. We're in all 3 phases. There's probably I'm trying to remember, but that's probably his most complete game that we've played in a long time, which was so very welcomed, after some of our early games. But so it's just really, really gratifying to see our team put it all together in all 3 phases.
And then the quick turnaround, what's changing this week, having one less day to prepare compared to a normal week?
Well, there's some stuff from a meeting wise standpoint. You got to be careful. Football is still a physical game, so you can't overdo it. When you lose a day, you can't try to pick up the physical work that way. It's going to be more mental stuff. Maybe a couple walkthroughs here and there, maybe a couple more meetings here and there. But from a physical standpoint, you just got to be very careful. We just had a physical game. The last 2 games have been pretty physical. And so the last 3, ECU was a physical game too. So we just got to be really, really careful. Obviously we had a bye before ECU, so we just got to be careful physically to get in our work, push it to the limit as much as you can. But, we're starting to get banged up like everybody else in the country. We start to play 4, 5, 6 games, everybody's starting to wear down. So it's a fine line that, we're looking at to make sure that we do all the necessary work, but just be careful that we don't overdo it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
We'll do 3 questions this time around if you have 3. Pete.
Coach, you guys seem to utilize Sam out on the perimeter as a blocker. Thought he did a couple of good things for you out there. Why him, and what is it about him that you like in those situations?
Talking Sam Glover.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's just athletic young man. You know what I mean? Kip did it too. Just it's kind of the skill set of our tackles, but Sam was doing a really good job on the perimeter. Just some perimeter blocking. Just sometimes obviously we can't cut downfield anymore. You know what I mean? So some of the stuff too is try to get some big people downfield. But Sam did a really good job.
You guys have now put together 3 rather solid performances in a row. Do you sense a level of confidence maybe throughout the roster, coming to work every day, Monday through Friday, as you get set to play these games on Saturday, now that there seems to be a little rhythm and a little confidence building?
I do, Pete, and again, I just came from a team meeting, but I do sense that we're more confident, but we just got to be aware. We had a team meeting about just being aware, just because confidence is a fine line of being arrogant. You know what I mean? And so to be confident is good if you believe in what you're doing, but not to take it to an arrogant standpoint and not recognize who we really are. And so I saw that obviously, to go down to ECU to beat them down there. Our kids battled their butt off against Air Force and, came away with a close loss. But then to beat I feel like a really good Tulsa team that handled it, which, I mean, we haven't beat Tulsa like that in all the years that I played. Scott, can you remember? I don't think we've ever beat them like that, but
No,
we
that's
beat,
most ever.
and our games have been hard fought games, but I think it has given us some confidence. But I feel like my job, Pete, as a head coach, I know it's a long answer, is to help them be confident, but don't get arrogant. Just recognize what it takes to win. You got to continue to work hard.
Get some guys in the secondary, especially Elias, make some plays, get deflections, defend passes. Nicholas dropping back has been very close on a couple of occasions, and then finally got, his takeaway this past week. It's such an important part of the game, and it's such a fine line. Sometimes you miss takeaways by literally that much, but just can you put an emphasis, what that means to get that many takeaways in a game? We talked about before the game last year, you held it for 37 minutes against Tulsa, and I asked you, how do you do that again? You end up with it for 40 minutes. Is it because of things like that, getting the takeaways you did in that game, that allow you to be able to do that again?
Yes, we did a great job of taking, takeaways, Pete. Like you talked about Nick Straw and, some of our underneath coverage. When you stop guys in the passing game or try to limit him, so to speak, that was an explosive offense. And so with SMU, you got to get to the quarterback. I thought we did a really good job of getting to their quarterback. But also when you do drop into coverage, you got to cover people, which you talked about Elias. Larry's done a really good job in doing that. But it also helps with the underneath coverage. Some of the guys underneath like Nick and like you talked about, I thought there were some really good pieces in pressure, coverage, covering that helped us against a really explosive offense.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Wags.
Coach, how did you feel Lirion contributed when he went in at center? Obviously, he's a 315-pound guy, a very talented guy that I know you all have been high on. Did you feel like he made a difference when he was in there?
Definitely helped us. And we're looking to get him more reps. But to have a guy that size at the point of attack, because most of the time, obviously the biggest guy in defense is the nose guard, especially if they're not front. So having somebody Lirion size, with David, I mean, it's good to have a good 1-2 punch. And so really, really pleased with Lirion coming around. Obviously, he's a guy that's coming off an injury, but I'm really happy for him and for us.
A fan said this, and I didn't quite notice, but did you have a lineup at one point that had Lirion at center, Ahmad Bradley at guard, and bumped Connor McMahon over to tackle?
We did.
And it worked well.
Yeah, Connor McMahon is probably a tackle by nature, by what we do. 6'4", 265, 270, athletic kid that can run. and we ask our tackles to do, things in space. And so, we moved him at guard because he's, we thought one of our best 5, but that was a rotation that we used, and we'll probably continue to use some of those type of, configurations up front.
And then, of course, your overall thoughts on SMU. Obviously, a talented team. I watched them play Maryland, and they scored a lot of points, but it looks as though just from the numbers, they're scoring a lot of points, giving up a lot of points has been their issue during this 3-game losing streak. But your thoughts on SMU?
Like you said, super talented. We know them very well. The head coach used to be the OC before. So he's a really good, offensive mind. He's always scored a ton of points wherever he's been. Part of our strategy will be like Saturday. We got to run the ball and we got to keep the ball away from them, which is, it's not a secret. That's what we do every week. It's our game plan to try to possess the football, keep their offense on the sidelines. It's super explosive on offense. We know the quarterback, good quarterback, and it's always a challenge defending those guys. It's always a challenge. Last year we had a hard time moving the ball against them. And so SMU, it's always a tough challenge playing there, but it's exciting for our kids. We got a lot of kids from Dallas, Texas area, and so it'll be exciting for them to go home.
And then for you as a play caller, when things are working and you're getting first downs and moving the, and I know sometimes it's tough when you have some 3 and outs. It's hard to get into a rhythm as a play caller. But did you feel on Saturday that happened for the first time this season? You're able to kind of build off one thing works, and then you can run something that comes off of it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to take any credit for it. I think our guys did a really good job of executing. Guys ran hard. Like one of the plays, like I said, you call a play and there's a guy sitting out there and Daba runs through them. That wasn't a good call on my part. He just Daba ran through him. You know what I mean, Wags? And so, but I thought we did have some, did have a little, I don't bounce it right. We had a little rhythm, but when you can run the football, that's who we are. You know what I mean? You predicate things off that, but there was probably better rhythm on Saturday.
Let's go to Scott Wyckoff.
One for me, Coach. What does it mean when you have such a young player back on punts like Nathan, to be able to have him back returning punts for you so you can free up some of your older players to focus on some of their positional play?
Amin Hassan returns punts.
Amin Hassan, you mean?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Amin, yeah. With his punt.
Yeah, Amin's been, done a good job back there. He's very reliable catching the ball. So, that's the first job of a punt return. Obviously, you want a punt return like, Deion Sanders or primetime, somebody back there. But the number one job is the guy who can catch the ball, and he's our most reliable guy back there. And for him to have that big return is really exciting for him.
And is that kind of unique to have a young player have that ability and have that responsibility?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's been unique from Stanton. You might have had some other young guys, but our team's actually pretty young, Scott. A lot of our skill guys are young guys, and so they're all young. And but fortunately, that means he'll be here for a while. But he's doing some good things.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Phil Bergman.
Coach, without giving anything away, how different is SMU's offense under this new coaching staff compared to last season?
Well, yeah, it is different. They throw the ball, but this he was there before. So we know him. He was offensive coordinator. Before he went to Miami. So we know him very well. He's a good coach, and he's got good schemes. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to score points. And he's a good football coach, and so. And he's got good players, and so schematically, we've seen this stuff before, but you still got to stop them. It's hard to stop those guys, and so it's going to be a challenge.
And last for me, you guys are competing for the Gans Trophy this weekend. Did you ever get to meet Coach Gans, and if so, what were those interactions like?
Just awesome, just a great man. Just the great person, and I was going to use an example. He's like, but most guys wouldn't know who I was talking about. But he reminds me of a certain coach that I used to coach with, but he's just an awesome person. You know what I mean? And then when we went to his funeral, it was just amazing to me. I'd never been through something like that where there were former players, all pro players, general managers, presidents, owners. They all came to pay respect to this guy. So like, wow, the impact that he has as a special teams coach. You know, he wasn't the head coach or anything, but you can tell the guys loved him because just you saw at the funeral, just the different levels from players to head coaches to management to owners. You know, they all came to pay respects, you know, to this great man.
Out of curiosity, who was that coach that he reminded you of?
Todd Spencer. Just from a standpoint, it's just very, I mean, he loved, coaches hard, you know, and I never saw him coach. These are just the films that I saw. I just met him, but I never saw him coach. But just remind me just the way his energy, the way he loved his players, and you could tell his players loved him.
Thank you.
Okay, one more trip around, carte blanche. Pete. Pete's still here, or do you have to go? Looks like Pete's gone. Wags.
Coach, what led to Nathan Kent making an appearance? We were all in shock. Umbarger's been running reverses for 2 years now, and so when it was a reverse, I'm like, oh, there's Umbarger again. And then when he started running downfield and had sprinter speed, I'm like, that is not Umbarger. Who is that?
Well, you know, he's a kid that, it came down to us and that other school up north. And he's a track kid, and he had track scholarship offers to a lot of, D1 legit schools, you know what I mean? And
BYU was one of them. BYU was one of them.
Yeah. And so the reason that he looked at us is because we were the one school that allowed him to do both. And he's just been impressive, Wags, just in practice. He fits Coach, Euclides' culture. He's a hard worker. And we saw, you just could see when he runs, he's different. And to Jaden's credit, because like you said, Wags, Jaden's had a lot of big plays for us, man. A lot of big plays where we run in reverse. Probably our best reverse runner, that we've ever had to this point. I mean, and then we told him, hey, we're going to get the reverses to Nate. It's like, he said, all right. And after, the cool thing about it, after he scored, Jaden came over and hugged me, and he was so excited for us. The coach keep giving him the reverse. But I think it helps us from the standpoint now, it's not just Jaden, so you can have both guys on. So hopefully, the people aren't always thinking when, be cautious of 87 running reverse. There's other guys that can run it too.
Do you think Kent is far away from being a help in the passing game? He could take the top off the defense.
No, he's definitely getting closer and closer, Wags, to do more of that.
Last for me, we talked a lot about the offense Saturday because that was the big topic, but 25 rushing yards. I mean, at one point, I think that the defense had held them to like 11 rushing yards. It was late in the fourth quarter. What are you just impressed, amazed about what the rushing defense that this Navy has?
I tell you what, and against a team like that, they're a big run RPO team. When you can take out the R out of the RPO, it definitely helps you and try to make them one dimensional. That was huge. And they've been, our run defense has been awesome. The front seven, D-line, linebackers, they've done a really, really nice job, Wags, on our run defense.
It was -9 after 3 quarters. Phil Bergman.
Yeah, and some of them came against when we had some of the subs in there.
Phil, finish us up.
Yeah, Coach, a little out of left field, but I know you guys will play any game, anytime, but is it a little poetic to get to play a game under the Friday night lights in the state of Texas for these guys this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's always cool to go down there. It's a great atmosphere. Like I said, we have a lot of kids from that area field. So from the state of Texas, from the Metroplex. And so it's it's always good for us to go back there, but they're also a good football team. So it's a great challenge for us. I know that they want to get back on the winning track, and they've had, over a week to get ready for us. So it's exciting in a lot of ways. Friday Night Lights, national television, against an opponent that we really respect and we know it's going to be a great game. So it's exciting.
What was it about Saturday that you guys were just clicking like you did on offense?
It's just everyone was focused and locked in before the game, and the energy felt different than really any other game before. So it was just everyone was locked into responsibilities, and the coaches came up with a really good game plan that allowed us to succeed.
How important is it for you guys to build on that coming up on Friday night against SMU?
It's very important. Like, we're already getting back to work, even though it's a holiday, and then we're gonna game plan even better than we did last week, and just and always be hungry for another win.
What's it like for you guys? I know you play a lot of games on national television, but this one, Friday Night Lights, one of only 2 games, prime time nationwide on ESPN. Is that a part of the reason that a lot of guys want to play at the Naval Academy for opportunities like that?
I'd say so. And then even then, there's just a lot of opportunities outside of football that that we can get. So, I mean, obviously that helps cater towards or want to be here, though.
Thanks.
Yep.
Paul Carcaterra.
Hey, Daba, Paul from ESPN. I'll be calling the game Friday night. Looking forward to seeing you and the team, and congrats on all your success. I guess my first question for you, in terms of like your background, I saw you wrestled in high school. That's correct, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you take attributes of wrestling into your running game?
Just having a good low base is one thing that I've always learned, and then also being able to get in and out of awkward positions, because in wrestling there's a lot of scrambles that you need to get out of in order to get on top for 2 points. So skills and intangible athleticism, I guess, comes from that.
Describe your I guess your level of skill with the cello.
I'd say it's all right. I've been playing since around 5th grade, so I'd say I'm a little advanced.
Do you still play?
I do a little bit, yeah. It's hard to play during the season, but I did a little bit during the summer, and then last year too.
Last year down at the academy, or only when you go home?
No, at the academy. I was actually in the orchestra first semester.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, sir.
And my last question here, when you look at this offense, when its running game is at its best, what really pops outside of the actual runner? But for someone who's watching Navy football, maybe for the first time Friday night, when this running game is working, what does it look like, I guess, on different levels?
I'd say the main thing to look at is the O-line, because everything starts and ends with them. So looking at if we're dominating up front, getting a good push and being able to do our assignments.
Awesome. Thank you, Daba.
Yep.
Wags.
Bill Wagner with the Baltimore Sun and Capital Gazette newspapers. Hey, Daba.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I mean, as far as your performance, I mean, Coach had mentioned that, you've been working hard, but you've had some struggles here and there you're a young guy still learning the offense, learning the position. I mean, do you feel like you personally had a breakthrough that enabled you to do what you did on Saturday?
Honestly, it's just the O-line and my teammates. Like, I've been consistently working to try and improve every facet of my game, but it's the O-line that allowed me to do it.
But do you feel like you took a giant step forward personally, though, as far as having success and breaking some long runs, scoring some touchdowns? I mean, I had to give you a confidence boost to know that you can succeed.
Yeah, it definitely did. It was a rough few games, but and then having that game, I guess it serves as momentum going forward, and just confidence in the way I run.
And do you feel like what happened Saturday is sustainable? I mean, do you feel like Navy's turned the corner? I mean, do you feel like that everything came together and that this is something that you all can build on? I mean, one game is good, but it's got to be carried forward, right?
Yeah, it's definitely sustainable, because this is the kind of offensive production that we've been looking for and we've been working towards. So as long as we stay as locked in as we were and execute our assignments as much as we did, and play selflessly, then yeah, we could continue to improve even.
Thanks.
Bill Bergman.
Daba, what do you want fans to know about your play style?
Say it again. I couldn't hear
Your
you.
style of play.
Oh, what's my style of play? Shoot, that's kind of hard to describe. I want to say just giving 100% effort throughout every play and being physical. I mean, I love contact, so being physical is definitely something I'd put to describe my style of play.
This B-back room, it's not just you back there. Just what's that dynamic like right now inside that position room?
I mean, we're all really close. Like it's the brotherhood. We all love each other, and we'll take turns eating on the field. And because Anton and Logan have had really good games too, and they're both excellent players. And even outside of that, you know, the senior fullbacks that are helping us develop, and the young ones taking reps in practice too and developing. So it's just everyone's working hard, and we're all really close with each other.
And lastly, it's a quick turnaround under the Friday night lights. How are you preparing for this quick turnaround?
We're just getting started early, you know, since it's a holiday. We took some recovery yesterday, and today we're gonna get back at it, you know, watching film and going through our game plan today.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we'll make another trip around. Scott Wyckoff.
Hey, Daba, after playing well in all facets of the game, your offense, also the defense and special teams, how fired up are you guys to get right back at it against SMU on Friday night?
I wish we had a full contact practice yesterday. I mean, I felt good. I really wanted to get back at it because this is what we've been looking for. So yeah, we're really excited and we're pumped for Friday.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Paul Carter, as many as you want.
Yeah. Daba, what kind of doctor? I saw in your bio you want to be a doctor. What kind of doctor do you want to be?
If I had to pick one right now, probably orthopedic surgeon. If I had to pick one right now, yeah.
Yeah. And what is your major?
It's physics with pre-med classes.
Seems easy. and last one for me. You mentioned earlier to one of the gentlemen that you love contact. Like, at what point in your life did you fall in love with contact?
Basically, ever since I started playing contact football. I played flag football for the first year, and then the second year is when the first year I ever played football, which was when I was 6. Then the second year after that, I was allowed to play contact ball, and I just love the adrenaline rush from it, and you know, the feeling of knocking someone in the teeth is just, it's awesome.
Like watching you play, man. Looking forward to Friday night, and thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
Wags, as many as you want.
So how did you get into playing the cello, and kind of like in the high school? I'm guessing you're a member of the high school orchestra. Did you do a lot of did you perform outside of high school? Just a little more background on your cello playing.
Yeah. So I started in 5th grade because I went to a private school and they kind of forced us to pick one instrument, or we had a choice between orchestra, choir, and band. And I chose orchestra just because, I don't know, I didn't like singing and I didn't want to do a wind instrument. And I chose the cello just because I wouldn't break it easily and it was easy to carry around. And then I just ended up really liking it and carrying on with it. And then in high school, let me think. I didn't do a whole ton outside of school, but our school would do a whole ton of, our school would do like a lot of outside events, if that makes sense. Like we would perform in some plazas and some public concerts and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So I do a Navy football podcast with former fullback Eric Catani, and he was one of the big guys, like 6'1", 230, and he obviously likes the big fullbacks. But he said, he commented on our podcast that we did yesterday, that he loved the way you ran on Saturday, that he felt like you were really lowering the shoulder and powering through. I mean, when you look back at tape, did you feel like you ran really hard with power?
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the mentality going into it, is just always play physical and always try to wear them out.
But thanks, Daba.
I'll brag on Dava here for a minute. He said what his major was, but his GPA is 3.84 right now as well, as majoring in physics. So I've got one. Where does your name come from?
So my dad, he's from Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast in West Africa. And my name is his dad's name.
Okay. Do you know what it means?
It means hard worker.
Oh, perfect.